Hello, welcome back. So in this episode of Mathematics, I wanted to go over a quadratic equation and specifically focus on simplifying the radical using the quadratic formula, or completing the square if you have to simplify the radical there as well. So we have this quadratic equation, so I'm going to put it in standard form. In order to do that, I'm going to move the 11 over, so this is going to become 9x squared minus 6x minus 1 is equal to 0. Now, obviously, we have no greatest common factor, and there's no factors of 1 that are going to add up to 6. So this equation is not factorable using our normal factoring method. And our a value is greater than 1, and our b value is not an even number. So we are definitely not going to complete the square. We want to use our hard-hitting tool, the quadratic formula. Now, I'm going to remind you what the quadratic formula is. That is x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, and that's all over 2 times a. Okay, so the easiest method for me, since I know I'm going to use the quadratic formula, I'm going to go ahead and find my discriminant. Now, my discriminant is dealing with just this section right here. Okay, now just dealing with that section, discriminant, d is going to be equal to 6, our b is 6, 6 squared is going to give us 36, minus 4 times 9 times negative 1. And that's all under this radical form. All right, now this simplifies, and this is going to become the square root of 36 plus 36, because this section becomes 36. So this becomes 36 plus 36, which is going to give us 72. Now, 72, I need to simplify this radical. The highest perfect square that goes into 72 is 36. So that's going to be 36 times 2. So this is going to simplify to 6 square root of 2. So now, this is what I'm going to put in place of my discriminant here, and I'm going to rewrite this. So this is going to become x is equal to, our b is negative 6, so that's going to become positive 6, plus or minus 6 square root of 2. Okay, and that's all over 2 times a. Our a is 9, so that's going to be 18. Okay, so here's where y'all kind of get stuck. Some of y'all have left me, some of y'all think, okay, I'm going to leave the answer in this form, and I'm done. And then there are situations when you get into higher level maths, you can just leave it there because you're going to end up getting it simplified somewhere else. But right now, we need to simplify this further. The easiest way for me to deal with that is this is a common denominator. And this is a fraction. So that means I'm going to separate my two top terms in my numerator over my denominator. So I'm going to rewrite this as 6 over 18 plus or minus 6 square root of 2 over 18. Okay, now 6 goes into itself 1 time and 6 goes into 18 3 times. So this simplifies to 1/3. 6 goes into itself 1 time in this term, and again 6 goes into 18 3 times. So this simplifies to 1/3 plus or minus the square root of 2 over 3. Yes, technically that's 1 times the square root of 2. But again, whenever we're multiplying or dividing by 1, we don't really always need to write it down. So just in the more simplified form, we just leave it like this. Now, you are fully simplified now. At this point, there's no factors that I can go in. There's no GCF that I can pull out. We are fully simplified. Now, there's a couple ways that you can write this fully simplified form. You have a common denominator. That common denominator is 3. Now, if you didn't have a common denominator, then that is as far as you can write it. If you didn't have a common denominator, but now that we do, we can write this and put on the bottom 3, and then on the top, we have that 1, and then don't forget, that's plus or minus, so that's going to be plus or minus the square root of 2. Now, this is another way we can write it. This is the way that we like to write it as mathematicians, just because it's less messy. And I know that I'm talking about both answers, but you could say 1 plus the square root of 2 over 3, or 1 minus the square root of 2 over 3. You can write it either way. All right, these are equivalent statements. The one on the right just takes up less space. The one on the left takes up more space, so we don't always want to take up more space, especially when we're looking at lots of calculations. There you have it. That's how you're going to simplify the radical form, especially using the quadratic formula. Do not give me decimals. I do not want decimals. All right. See you later.